Awesome. So we will go ahead and get started, and I'm sure a few people will continue to join. But hello, good evening, everybody. So happy you are spending a little bit of your night with us. And if we haven't met, hello, my name is Demi, and I'm the camp director here at Camp Olson. I've been up here in a full-time role for about 5 years now. And grew up coming as a kid as well when I was many of your ages that I see here on the screen. Did family camp and youth camp, then did some other things when I went to college and came back, and Russ just can't get me to leave. And so happy to be here for yet another summer, and a very special one that is our 70th anniversary this summer. So all of you joining us are a part of a really big celebration for us. And I will pass it over to Margaret to introduce herself. I think I just gave you permission to unmute.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Margaret and I am the assistant camp director here at Camp Olson. I have been living here for about 5 years and in my full-time role for about 3. I grew up coming to camp. I met my husband at camp, so it is really cool to now live here and work here full-time in this capacity. And I'm super excited to meet all you campers this summer. And I will pass it on to Russ. You're gonna have to probably give him permission.
Got it. Thank you, Margaret. Hi, everybody. My name is Russ Link, and I'm the executive director of Camp Olson. I see some familiar names and faces on the screen. I have been in this role for 22 years, and not only is this our 70th summer, it's also my last summer, as I will be hitting the retirement button in January or February of next year. So I'm really excited that you will be joining us. For those campers on the screen with us, you may not realize that Camp Olson is really big. We have 6 different lakes that surround our property, and lots of acres, 1,350 acres to explore. And we have campers that will be coming here this summer from 27 different states and 7 different countries. So, and even more staff from different countries as well. So people come from all over, and we're glad you're with us. This is information for you to help prepare you for camp. So at the end, we'll do a Q&A, but we've got an agenda to follow. We're going to try to keep this to no more than an hour, and hopefully less, and then we'll move on. So Demi, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining again. And if you have questions as we're going through this, feel free to type them in the chat if they're relevant to kind of the topic that we're on. We'll try to work them in. Otherwise, we will try to address any leftover questions at the end of this evening. But to start, I wanted to give everyone just a really quick tutorial on how to access our forms and use our parent portal. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Okay. So you can access your parent portal by just going to our website, campolson.org, and it'll bring you to this nice home screen, and we'll give you a reminder of how many days we've got till camp. So we are down to 23. From there, you can go to the parent tab and scroll down to parent login. And there's a ton of other resources on our website as well that you can go ahead and take a look at, including our parent handbook, a link to our store, see some options of what is in there for this year's swag. I will say we haven't updated the website yet to show the new additions, but you can see some of our classics that are in the store still. So again, click on parent login. And then whatever your primary email address is. That'll bring you to this main page, and this is where you can access just about everything you will need for the summer. First and foremost would be your forms and documents. So if you have not done this yet, we ask that these be done at least 4 weeks in advance if possible. And you'll get reminders from us if those are not quite in yet. And there you can access all of the ones that you need to do. As you can see, mine are overdue for my campers most likely. My camper is my dog, and he is coming for session 2 this summer. But it'll have a reminder here of when those are due. Some are not required, but we definitely encourage you to do all of them. If they are required, it will note that as well. And then back to the main page, you can view a few other things that are going to be helpful. One of those being keeping an eye on your store account. When your camper is here, you can take a look at this and see what it is that they're buying. You know, if they bought like 6 mugs, I don't know, maybe they're trying to redecorate your kitchen, or maybe we can pass along a message that they maybe don't need 6 mugs. Or if you want 8 mugs and they don't have enough money, you can add in more money to your account this way as well. Here is where you can also send e-letters. So mail can be a little bit slow getting up to Longville, Minnesota, but we do use an email system as well for e-letters that get printed every day and delivered to campers. You do have to purchase what is called e-stamps to send those through our CampMinder system. But you can purchase those and then send a quick email to your camper and attach photos and things like that. You can also request a letter to be written back. I do always give the forewarning though that campers are often very busy and it is not their priority to write their parent. Some kids will do it and love to write letters back to their family, but many of them prefer hanging out with their friends, making friendship bracelets, riding horses, all of the activities they came to do at camp. But again, camp stamps right here is where you can purchase them and send those emails or check if you've gotten a reply. One more important thing in this portal is going to be this photos section where you can log in there and view all of the photos taken during the week. We try to get those uploaded every evening by 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes it might not be until early the next morning, but for the most part, they get in within 12 or 24 hours of the day before to see your campers and what they're up to. And again, I like to give the caveat, some kids love to have their photos taken. Some will hide from the camera. So if you haven't seen your kiddo, trust us, they are okay. They are probably either hiding purposely or we've just been unlucky in capturing them. You are welcome to send us an email, ask for proof of life, and we will make sure to go out there and get a photo of them if you need that. But that is just a quick kind of tutorial of your main camp portal. So I'm going to stop share, let a few more people in. Awesome. And so next up, I do kind of want to go over when you might hear from us. Whether that be me or Margaret or Russ or one of our other management team members. A few reasons we would make sure to contact you is if there is any severe weather. So if we have to go into a storm shelter for any reason, high winds, tornadoes, we will let you know if that happens, or if there is some other kind of real big change in programming. Lately, we've had quite a bit of smoke in the air and limited or poor air quality, which I'm sure others of you in Minnesota maybe have experienced as well. So if for some reason we have to adjust programming pretty drastically because of poor air quality, we will be sure to let you know. Those messages usually come through by email. If it's an arrival day or a departure day and there is a major change to the bus schedule, we will also be sure to let you know. Again, usually over email. We will post on social media, and if there's anything urgent, we will try to contact those folks that it affects over the phone. And then a couple other reasons we might contact you is a few things related to healthcare. So if your camper isn't feeling well for any reason and has to spend the night in our health center, we will be sure to let you know. If they just come in, for a cough drop or bug bites or things like that, we won't typically contact you. Just if it's lingering a bit longer, or if there's anything more urgent. So if we need to schedule an off-site clinic visit or an ER visit or anything of that nature, we would be sure to contact you as well to notify you of that. Or any other questions related to healthcare. If there's a question about medication or something that maybe happens pretty frequently that we just want to ask how you typically take care of it at home, our healthcare team may reach out to you. And then on the same lines, if we have any behavioral concerns about your camper, extreme homesickness, or if there's like bullying going on, things like that, we may also contact you to either just notify you that it has happened, or again, to sometimes bring you into that conversation and see how we can utilize your support to help the camper out. So that's kind of a quick basic of reasons we might contact you. And Margaret and Russ, feel free to raise your hand if I forgot anything and I can unmute you. Otherwise, Margaret, I'm going to unmute you so you can talk a little bit more about our schedule.
Awesome. So I'm just going to kind of go over like the general, what a day looks like for our campers. Sunday on arrival day is very much a day where we are hoping that they are bonding as a cabin group, getting to know each other, and we really kind of have them tour around camp, get to know our facilities, all the rules at each facility, do a little swim test and that kind of a thing. So Sunday tends to be a slow but also busy day for our campers, but we really want to have them get to know all the rules and policies that we have at camp. Monday through Friday is very much this kind of same day-to-day schedule. So we are waking those kids up bright and early, maybe not for some, but that wake up time is usually like 7:15. If campers are pretty good about getting out of bed during the week, we'll let them get up at 7:30, but it just kind of depends on their tiredness and getting out of bed. Sometimes it's pretty hard to get those kids out of bed. 8 a.m. is breakfast time. They will have like a little flag raising in the morning too, and we'll go over some like camp beautification projects that we'll assign each cabin. So cabins kind of help us fulfill our mission of keeping our facilities and property clean, and then having them help us with that. In the morning, so our general discovery campers have 3 1-hour blocks of time where they will go as a cabin group with their counselors to different program areas. And then if your camper is enrolled in one of those specialty camps, whether it's like sailing, horses, fishing, that's how they will spend their morning as a cabin. So they will do that specialty programming in the morning. Those are 3-hour blocks for those kind of discovery kids, and then specialty campers will be at their specialty program area. They will then go to lunch at noon. And then we have some like afternoon announcements. So in the afternoon, we have what we call free time. So campers get the opportunity to decide where they want to go during the day in the afternoon. So program staff will go up on stage and do like a funny skit or a song and kind of announce what activities they can participate in that afternoon. After that, they will go into a siesta. So we have some really nice like quiet time. They can nap, read a book, just reset to gear up for the afternoon ahead. They will then head to our buddy board, is what we like to call it, at 2 o'clock. Each camper has like a number that they're assigned all week. So when they go to the beach, they'll like put their buddy tag on what area of swimming they're in, and they will do the same at our buddy board. So if your camper wants to go ride a horse for free time, they will put their buddy tag in that program area so we know where all the kids are during that free time period. There is a counselor stationed at that buddy board too to kind of help facilitate and make sure kids know where to go. That first hour hour-and-a-half block is for free time. They will then come to Power Up, so it's an opportunity for them to get a little snack, reconnect as a cabin. Counselors check in and make sure every camper has come to Power Up. And then it's just a good way for kids to rehydrate, put on sunscreen, check in, and get a nice little ice cream treat or snack. And they'll go do the same thing for another hour-and-a-half and pick another program area that they want to participate in. And that same buddy tag system will happen. Dinner time is at 6, and then after dinner, we do an all camp game. So we all come together as one big camp community and play a really fun game like Capture the Flag, Counselor Hunt, Lord of the Rings, really fun games, and kids really love it. My personal favorite is Capture the Flag. Campfire is at 8:30, and following campfire, we try to have campfire end at 9 o'clock. A lot of those younger kids will probably go straight to their cabin to start getting ready for bed. Some of those older cabins might have some night activity, whether it's like playing a board game in the dining hall or having a fun campfire as a group. But all camp lights out, quiet time by 10:30. But those younger kids, we're really trying to go get their night meds figured out, brush teeth, pajamas, and in bed pretty quick after campfire because they are tired and need a very good night's sleep. And some of those older kids will stay up maybe until 10:30 at the latest, and then kind of have some fun with board games, or sometimes they can go sauna at night too. So yeah, bedtime, it varies depending on age. We try our best to get them in bed, but sometimes those kids just really get a second wind after campfire and they are ready to run and play. We try to get them to settle though. So yeah, that's kind of like our general schedule on kind of what our days look like from Monday through Friday. We are gearing up to welcome all of our staff. June 1st, all of our staff come for a full week of staff training. We train our staff on tons of different things in a jam-packed week. We do certify them, as many counselors as we can, in CPR, first aid. We get a lot of lifeguard certifications done that week. And we also have people come in to do our wilderness first aid training for our trip program, counselors. We'll also, do all of our emergency procedure training. We'll train them on, how to handle behaviors and sensitive issues, child abuse prevention, outdoor living skills, program facilitation. So it is a really good jam-packed week where we try to really lay out the essential things that each staff member need to know so they can give safe, appropriate care to all of your children. And we love staff training. We're excited to welcome them back at camp. So first-time campers. We're so excited to welcome first-time campers. This summer, we are hoping to actually give all of the first-time camper guardians or parents a phone call. So if you have any lingering questions or concerns, we are calling all those first-time parents the week before so we can just check in and make sure that you have all your ducks in a row and answer any questions. So know that we will check in probably a week before your camper comes. So if you have any questions, we'll try to connect with you before the camper comes. Preparing your first-time camper kind of depends on the age, but going to a new place that you've never been before is always difficult, whether you're 8 or 16. For sure, start talking about camp. So talk about camp early, get them excited. You can show them our website. We have some good pictures and programming posts in there. And you can also kind of check out our social media too. We try to post throughout the summer. Especially when campers are here, you can kind of see a lot of those activity pictures on our social media. You can get a countdown going. That's always kind of helpful, especially for those younger kids. It gets them excited, but for sure, just kind of like talk about camp early and get them as excited as you can early and get that conversation going. If your camper really has like never had a sleepover before, try maybe like having them sleep at a trusted household once or twice before camp, just so they maybe can try to get used to not being in their own bed in their own home just to kind of practice being away. That can be super helpful. Try your best though. Sometimes like leading up to camp, especially even on your way to camp, kids can sometimes get very anxious, and it's very easy to kind of like promise them that you'll come pick them up if they don't like it. Try not to promise them that, because right when you leave, they will probably tell us that you told them they'll come pick you up, and they will beg us to call you. Like Denny said before, if your camper is like super homesick, super anxious, and just not having the best time, we will call you and talk to you about it, whether that's asking advice from you on how to support them. Sometimes campers are just having a really hard time, and we'll do like a midweek check-in with parents. Sometimes that is so helpful, and then all of a sudden, like that, the camper is totally fine and ready for the rest of the week. And sometimes it makes it a little bit harder. So we will work with you and your camper if they're having a really hard time at camp. Sometimes some of those anxieties for first-time campers or campers in general can revolve around some bedwetting or pull-ups or anything like that. Pull-ups, we have them every summer, and it's totally manageable and totally fine. They can either treat a pull-up like a night med, where they go up to our health lodge and just change into it really quick, or they can change into it in their cabin. Usually the counselor will work with them to see what their comfortability is on pull-ups and bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. But preparing your first time camper is very exciting and really fun, and sometimes leading up to it, they'll get pretty nervous. So just get them excited and talk about all the fun things to be excited about. We do take cell phones when they get to camp, so they will not be able to call you. So just try not to promise any sort of like phone calls or picking up. Obviously, we're not here to like trap your kids here. So if they're having a terrible time, we will call you and work through it with you and your camper. Yeah, so that's kind of it for kind of like preparing your first time camper. Obviously, every kid is different and how they want to get ready for camp. But packing, I actually just saw a packing question. Yes, they can bring cameras, just any sort of digital camera. So for packing, we do have packing lists on our website that you guys can reference. And it's broken up into if you're packing for a trip, if you're packing for just horse camp, sailing camp, all that kind of stuff. So you can for sure look at that on our website. We do not allow electronics at camp. So if your camper is riding the bus, they can for sure bring their phone, an iPad, or anything like that. But when they get to camp, we do confiscate it for the week. And we'll keep it in our office, and we will give that back to them before they leave. So they can bring their phones and iPads and stuff, but we will confiscate it once they get to camp, because I know that bus ride can be pretty long and car ride can be pretty long. Another thing to not bring is like pocket knives, anything sharp like that, or anything just like crazy expensive. Like Demi said in the chat, kids lose things very easily, as I'm sure all of you know. So for sure, like if they have a nice rain jacket and it's new, label it with their initials. Label any of that nicer stuff with their name, because if they leave it and you email, it's really easy to find something that has their name on it, and we can kind of work with you and get that sent back. Some of the common things that are forgotten are like tennis shoes or closed-toed shoes. We do require closed-toed shoes and tennis shoes to participate in some of our activities, so it's an important thing to pack. Long pants are another thing that we require for some of our activities, like horseback riding. So kind of look at that packing list and make sure you're kind of packing those essential things. To make your camper more comfortable at night, you can for sure pack them with like a twin sheet. Our bunks are twin size. So sleeping bags for sure, but if they want something a little more comfy, you can for sure bring like stuffed animals or a sheet to kind of help make that bed a little bit more comfortable for them at nighttime. Snacks. We are a summer camp in the woods, which means we have very friendly, sneaky little mice that love campers' treats and snacks. Snacks are welcomed, but something that needs to be properly sealed. Sometimes parents send care packages with a lot of snacks and a lot of treats. We don't encourage it, but obviously if you want to send a sweet treat, you can, but it needs to be able to be sealed. Otherwise, they will have a fun little bite out of it from a mouse friend or ants or something. So our cabins are in the woods, and a lot of them are pretty old, so those little critters can sneak in. And I think that's it for trips. That is a separate packing list on our website as well. If you are a parent or guardian of a camper that is going on one of our extended trips, sometime next week, I'm actually going to send you a specific packing list and like how to fit them for proper hiking boots and some tips and tricks for packing and getting your camper ready for that extended trip. So look out for that email soon. Otherwise, there's also a packing list on our website as well for trips that you can look at. Also, don't forget rain gear. It does rain. But anything that your camper forgets, if it's like a necessity or something super important, we will provide that for them. So if they forget a toothbrush, a pillow, hairbrush, shampoo, anything like that, we will make sure that we try to get that for them. And anything like that, like a water bottle. So yeah, I think that's it for me, Demi, and I think I'm gonna pass it on to you.
Perfect. I am going to talk a little bit about check-in day and check-out day, and then Russ will touch a little bit more on transportation. But in terms of actually, once you are at camp, what that looks like. So those of you that are coming up by car, so if a parent, friend, neighbor, is driving a personal vehicle up to camp, we ask that you arrive between 2 and 4 o'clock. I will say that the bus is usually here by 3:30. So ideally, if you can come before 3:30, then they can be a part of the bus arrival, which is a very fun experience. Otherwise, anytime between 2 and 4 is ideal. If you are going to be running late for any reason, just give us a heads up. You can email any one of us or call our office and just give an estimated time of arrival so we can be prepared and make sure we have someone available to greet you as you drive in. And as you are driving into camp during main check-in, we will have flags and staff out on the drive to kind of direct you where to go and park. Once you do park, you will find Margaret and I at underneath a big picnic pavilion where we will have some tables set up and registration where we will check in your camper, make sure we have the accurate information for pickup details and who will be picking up your camper. And that is when we will tell our car arrivals which cabin they're going to be in and who their counselors are. Our counselors will then guide you and your camper through a little tour. First visit being our health station where you check in with the nurses and hand over any medications that you have brought with you. Then we will bring you to your cabin to kind of drop off your stuff, get settled in a little bit, and view any areas around camp that you want to make sure to see, as well as some of those most important areas, like where the bathroom is and where the dining hall is. Then you come back to kind of that main registration area again, where we will have all the rest of our staff on the athletic field with all of the other campers that have been dropped off, and just kind of get to hang out, play games until our bus arrives. Then everybody goes into our amphitheater where we sing some fun songs, get to meet a few staff, and then we call up each cabin counselor and all of the kids in that cabin. So that's where you kind of find out who else is in your cabin, who your counselor is, if you haven't already done the car arrival check-in. So that's really helpful for our bus campers. That's kind of their first opportunity to meet everybody. And from there, we continue with our check-in process of anyone that has not had their health checks, getting moved into cabins, and then proceeding on with the rest of our day where we do swim checks, dinner, and orientation rotation, where we go through and do a tour of camp and get to meet all of the program staff and learn a little bit of the rules around camp and activities they can participate in. And then on the flip side of that, pickup day. Pickup runs between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Again, if you're running late or need to come early, just let us know ahead of time. Campers are usually eating breakfast until about 8:30, 8:45. So if you do arrive around 8 o'clock and you're in a hurry to leave, let us know and we can make sure your camper is fed and then back on the athletic field to meet you sooner than later. Otherwise, after breakfast, all the campers will come out to the athletic field. And that's kind of where parents, caregivers will meet back up with their kids, grab their luggage. That's also where we will have a lot of our our lost and found. We collect a lot of lost and found, and we have it spread out on tables or on our nature center porch. So definitely if you're picking up by car, go check out the lost and found to see if you recognize anything that might be yours. We will not keep any lost and found for more than 2 weeks. So if once you get home, you realize something might be missing, call us or email us as soon as you see that so we can keep an eye out for it. Anything that's left for more than 2 weeks, we donate to a local like Goodwill. So do let us know if there's anything you are missing and we will do our best to find it, but cannot guarantee. So yes, pick up between 8 and 10. Again, Margaret and I or another one of our management staff members will be along the road to kind of point you where to park and to just check, who's picking up each child and do a little checkoff system there to make sure all campers are accounted for as they go home, return any medications that might have not been administered, and go from there. I saw a little bit of questions about day camp. So day camp runs Monday to Friday. And that program runs from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we like to have you drop off your kids around 8:45. Sometimes, if possible, 8:30 on that Monday, just because we do have to do health checks and a little bit of orientation on Monday, but really anytime between 8:30 and 9 on that first day and 8:45 to 9 the rest of the week. And again, let us know if for some reason that time doesn't work for you on a certain day, or if you expect your camper to miss, they're not feeling well, something like that, that might affect their participation for the day. And then pick them up at 4 o'clock. Before day campers go home, they do have the opportunity to go to our trading post and get a snack. So right before they go home, they will have a little bit of ice cream or something like that to hold them over till dinner, ideally. And we send out a packing list and schedule for all of our day campers the week ahead of time as well, so you know what to pack for each day. So from there, I'm going to pass it over to Russ, who will talk a little bit more about our transportation.
Hi, welcome again, everybody. Yeah, so you're basically going to be coming to camp through two methods. You or a relative or a friend will be driving them to camp. We certainly encourage carpooling if you're coming with a friend. The parent or guardian does not need to be present to drop them off, but please be sure that you're communicating with whoever is the driver about any communication strategies, who might be picking them up. We will collect names of parents or other names to release the child to when they go home, and that's collected when you drop them off. So we need to know that information at the time they're dropped off. As Demi said, drop off is 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You'll have all kinds of greeters and flaggers directing you where to park. If you're dropping off your camper specifically at camp on arrival day, you will first check in and we'll collect that departure information, who's picking them up. From there, you're going to meet a staff person. Sometimes it's not always your camp counselor right away, because they could already have several campers and be doing a tour or be in the cabin with those campers. And you'll meet that staff person who will walk with you to see one of our healthcare staff, where they will review your health history you submitted in advance, collect any medications in advance, and then also an opportunity for you to, share any relevant health information about your child at that time. Don't be surprised when you're meeting with the nurse. We will do a life check on every camper on arrival day. Just a quick check to be sure that campers coming into camp are lice-free and in a communal living environment. That's very important. It's really, and Demi, should I just tag on to this other healthcare stuff right away?
Great. Go for it.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about healthcare, whether you're coming on the bus or dropping them off at camp. A little bit more back on transportation, though. If you're riding a bus to camp, there are 5 drop-off locations. And if you're in Rochester or the southeastern Minnesota location, that location has changed in Rochester this year. It used to be in front of the old YMCA on First Ave, but that's not there anymore. And that whole area is under construction. So our Rochester location is now 3708 Broadway Avenue. It's in the Halley Comfort Systems parking lot. So please note of that. We also do stop in Owatonna then at I-35 and Highway 14. Then from there, our next stop is in the Twin Cities at the Southdale YMCA, just outside of Edina. And then we stop at the St. Cloud YMCA. And then finally, we have a spot where we lease our buses from called the Reichert Bus Company. And we'll have some campers in Brainerd get on the bus there. So the bus starts that route every Sunday at 9 a.m. And that bus will approximately get to camp around 3 p.m. on that Sunday afternoon. So it's a long bus ride with all the stops. Sometimes it goes quicker if we have 2 buses, but generally you can plan on about a 6-hour bus ride for your campers. It's a chartered coach bus. It does have a bathroom on the bus. And so if you're coming by bus, you want to be sure, especially if you're boarding before St. Cloud, make sure you have a sack lunch with you. And so snacks and a sack lunch if you're riding the bus, because you'll have that available. As Demi mentioned, you are, or Margaret did, you are eligible, or you can have your phone on the bus. We actually encourage that, and just know that we're going to collect that phone from you when you get to camp. The other reason that's really nice is you can check in with them how the bus ride's going, or they can also, and we'll use our campers to help call you and notify you if the bus is going to be arriving early on the way home. Maybe we find ourselves 45 minutes ahead of schedule, or we're behind schedule. Regardless, you will get an email from us if we're way behind schedule. So if you get somewhere and the bus isn't there, be watching your email a half hour or 45 minutes ahead of time, because we're going to let you know whether it's traffic, an accident, why our bus is running late, if it's running late on the return location to any of those spots. So that will be really helpful to you. Your medication. So if you're riding the bus and bringing medication, our preference would be that medication is turned into the bus monitor. We will have a bus driver, or a bus driver, and then a staff member on every bus. The driver is not a Camp Olson employee. We charter a bus company to provide our professional driving services. The staff member is there to help with issues on the bus, behaviors on the bus, food on the bus, and then just communication in general. So you can turn in that medication to that bus staff person when you drop your camper off at the bus. And that's actually easier for us than tucking it in a suitcase, because then we got to go find it and all of those kinds of things. Other than that, we are in communication with that staff person on the bus. So if there's any concerns or any problems, and then we will certainly post on our Facebook page if our bus is running late, and email you as well. And then our last resort is always to text you. We do ask that you arrive about 15 minutes before the bus departs to camp at any of those locations, and then arrive about a half hour early prior to pickup time. I would say generally our buses arrive early more than they're ever late. So any questions about busing, put them in the chat, or when you get to dropping off by car, you can put them there as well. Know that when you get to camp by car, you want to pull your medications out right away. You're going to leave your luggage at your car. You're going to go through registrations, but pull your medication out of your luggage, because you're going to walk to the nurses, and that's when you're going to check that medication in. For the most part, campers are never allowed to keep medication with them at camp. It all gets turned into the nurse. Now, there are some exceptions to that, and that would be if your child carries an EpiPen for any anaphylactic allergies, if they have asthma and they carry an inhaler for reasons that they need for emergency purposes. Some topical creams will allow campers to keep with them if they're daily routine basis for things like acne or eczema or something like that. There's a potential they could keep topical creams. please, and this is really important, make sure all your medications come in the original bottle from the pharmacy. And that includes over-the-counter medications you might send. It includes prescriptions medications you send, vitamins you send, and do not send homeopathic remedies that come without a doctor's order. So pills in a baggie do us no good. We gotta just send those home with you. So they have to come in the original over-the-counter container or the original pharmacy container. And then certainly our nurses will work with you if you have other medications. A little bit more about medications at camp. So our nurses then administer all of those medications, generally 4 times a day. So 8 o'clock at breakfast, the nurses are at the dining hall. 12 o'clock at lunch, the nurses are at the dining hall. And 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at dinner, the nurses are at the dining hall. Evening meds are distributed at the health center. And then any odd time medications, a 10 a.m., a 3 p.m., that camper is brought up to the health center to receive that medication. And so those are the med times generally. So if you can have your med time kind of schedule align with that, that's really helpful to us. But we know there's exceptions to those rules. Camp Olson Health Center is staffed by 2 registered nurses 24/7 during the week. So we have 2 nurses in our health center 24/7. And then as Demi mentioned early on, and Margaret has, a number of our staff are certified in first aid, wilderness first aid, lifeguarding, CPR, and all of those things as well. And sometimes our nurses come from all walks of life. They're school nurses, they're ER nurses, and everything of the like. Your campers report to the health center generally once a day for those medications. If a camper doesn't have medications, it's not uncommon that a nurse would never see a camper all week long after that. Generally, if they have though, and you want to coach your camper, if they're not feeling well, they have an injury that's bothering them, it could be a toenail, maybe they got bug bites, we will get them to the health lodge to see a nurse. You do not have to pack hydrocortisone lotion. We have all kinds of that at camp for bug bites. And the same for most over-the-counter medications, from Advil, Tylenol, things to treat wounds that we all have on site. So don't feel like you need to pack your, medicine cabinet with your child to camp. It actually kind of causes more issues when they have all of that stuff. And we'll make sure their health needs are taken care of and we have a good supply of everything. Other than that, our nurses are also, prepared for emergencies. And that's a big part of who we are. Safety is a big part of who we are, and risk management is a big part of who we are. But all of those processes require us to prepare for emergencies. So we have our nurses all follow standing orders of our local physician. Our local Longville clinic is 4 miles from camp. So and they're open daily from basically 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock. So routine medical care, we can get in pretty quickly. And our clinic accommodates us pretty on a regular basis to get routine things in that need to be seen. If it's an emergency, our 911 service, our ambulance is generally about a 5 to 7 minute response time, but our closest ER is 45 miles away. So we are a distance from an ER. And so many times we won't hesitate getting a child into a clinic to avoid an ER, or we won't also hesitate to call an ER if it's an emergency and call an ambulance because of that. We do have defibrillators on site, obviously, in a situation would occur, but hopefully we would not need that. So healthcare is really important, and we have some of the best nurses around. I appreciate the comment I just read in the chat. They are so helpful to our kids, not only navigating, their physical health, but Demi will talk a little bit about mental health at camp, homesickness, and things like that could occur. So that's a little bit more about transportation and healthcare, and keep dropping those lines in. And we'll talk a little bit about special diets here coming up. I see a gluten thing as well. So Demi, I'll turn that back to you for a second.
All right. Yeah, so we'll just segue right into kind of any meal and diet and allergies. So in your health forms, there is going to be a section there for you to include any allergies, whether that is food, environmental, things like that. So please do indicate any concerns you have there. If it's a bee allergy, gluten allergy, lactose intolerant, whatever it might be, include that on there. And we do look at those every week and let our food service staff know what food allergies we are having that week, and do supply alternatives for all of those meals. We do our best to label anything that is on our buffet line. So most of our meals are, all of our meals are served buffet style. Some of our younger campers, like 8, 9 and younger, may do what we call family style. But for the most part, buffet style, we will label if there's any allergies that might be on that line to be aware of. Otherwise, best bet for any campers that have any sort of food allergies is to consult with their counselor, and their counselor will help them determine what is safe to eat and what is not, and then to direct them to our food service staff. They will go back into our kitchen, and we have a line back there and a table back there that will have any of the foods for our special diet campers. And we can accommodate most dietary restrictions. If for some reason there's something that we don't feel we can adequately find accommodations for, we will reach out to you to make a plan for that. In a few limited cases, we've had families send prepackaged food up with their camper if absolutely needed, but that is a last resort, or if they were just extremely picky in what they wanted to eat. But we do accommodate most food allergies, and any questions about that, just make sure that your camper asks. Campers tend to be kind of nervous if there's something that they don't think that they can eat. And don't always ask, but we always have something for them, even if it's a peanut butter and jelly, a cheese sandwich, whatever it is, we will find something that makes their stomach happy. So make sure they know just to talk to a staff member, and we will find them something. We also have EpiPens around camp, and as Russ mentioned, most of our staff are trained in first aid, CPR, all of that, and can manage any allergic reactions that do happen at camp. So if there's any specific questions too, we definitely encourage you to reach out to us individually for any concerns you might have related to allergies. But in terms of our meals, I'm sure some of you are curious what you might be eating when you're at camp. For breakfast, we tend to do a rotation of what we call hot breakfast and cold breakfast. But there's usually options like pancakes and sausage, French toast and bacon. We do biscuits and gravy. There's usually always options with fresh fruit, cereal, and yogurt as well. Lunches is our variation. Some of our favorites are taco bar. We do like soup and sandwiches. What else? There's hamburgers, chicken patties, all sorts of good stuff there. And there's always salad available at lunch and dinner. And dinner changes all the time as well. We've got like burrito bowls, stir fry. Every Sunday we do pizza. So that's usually a favorite for arrival day, as everyone gets a variety of pizza toppings. And then lunch and dinner also has dessert. I will say that is one of my favorite things about summer camp is dessert after every meal. So make sure you save room, campers, for dessert. And then we also have water and bug juice available as well. And in the morning and evenings, campers can have access to like hot tea. And on occasion, we'll have some hot cocoa and things like that. So next up,
Milk is always available for all meals as well.
Yes. All right, I'm going to pass it back over to Margaret to talk a little bit about a few specialty things that go on over the weekends.
Hi, so really quick, I just want to touch on if your camper is here for 2 weeks or more than that and they're staying over the weekend. Weekends, most of our staff are off, and it's a small camper crew that is here on the weekend, so we try to make it as fun as possible, and they basically get camp to themselves. So it could be really fun. Our counselors try to plan some really cool activities. If it's really hot, they'll go to the boathouse or the beach that night. Usually there's a big slumber party movie night, so we'll give them some popcorn and some treats, and they'll watch a fun movie together on the weekend. If your camper is here, kind of what we say, if your camper is here for 3 weeks or more than that, we will assist them in getting their laundry done. If your camper is here for 2 weeks and they are like totally out of socks and underwear or something, we will also do their laundry. They just have to ask us, and we will try to get them some more clean clothes. So we say 3 weeks, we'll get their laundry done. But if your camper has a bunch of dirty clothes and they need their laundry done, we will do their laundry for them. So that will probably happen on the weekend. So for those like CIT campers, usually we actually send them to a laundromat. So it's kind of like a field trip to town. Our CIT program will go do laundry as a group, and they always love it. We do on the weekend give them their phone back, so it's a fun opportunity for them to call home and touch base with you guys. Usually their phones are back for a couple hours, and then we'll take them back. So on the weekends they will get their phones back for a little bit, so they can call their friends and call home and that kind of a thing. If they didn't bring a phone and they really want to touch base with you, we will provide them with a phone so they can call you and touch base if their phone is not with them. So yeah, weekends are really fun. It's usually a smaller crew. If your camper is staying on the weekend and like you have a cabin close by or you live close by and you want to come pick them up for the weekend, that is totally fine. Just let us know, obviously, beforehand, and they can go hang out and have a meal with you guys if you're close by. And that's kind of it for stayovers. It's pretty quick. Those CIT and LIT campers, know that usually LITs are gone on their trip over the weekend. We will email you if your camper is on an extended trip off of camp property. We will email you when they leave for their trip and when they come back for their trip. And then usually after their trip, we'll find some time for them to check in with you too when it's appropriate. But know that we will let you know when your camper leaves and comes back. And those LITs are gone over the weekend, so they probably won't call home because they're going to be having fun on trail.
That's great. One of the main voices of camp, when you do call and ask, you will probably get Amy first. Many of you have maybe talked to Amy already. She's our office manager. And Amy can answer a million questions about camp. She's been our office manager for 19 years now. And so she's very versed in camp lingo and what your kids are up to. But when it comes to like a cabin assignment for the next week or other things, she'll direct one of your phone call to Margaret or Demi or one of our summer people as well. But know that when you first call in, probably your first voice of contact will be Amy if you do call and get a question. And you can start with her. And if she's not able to answer your question, she's going to refer you on to somebody that can.
And here's a quick reference for all of our emails and contact information. And this is included in the parent handbook. But as Russ mentioned, if you're ever not sure who to contact Amy, info@campolson.org, and she will direct you to the best person to answer your question. We also, Margaret or I, or one of our management team, will call all brand new parents. So if you have a first-time camper, you are a first-time parent sending your kid to camp, you will get a phone call from us before camp starts, probably a week or two in advance would be our goal, to answer any other last-minute questions as well. Though you are always welcome to reach out to us sooner if you have questions.
And I did see a question a little earlier, like when do we find out that cabin assignment, right? Generally, that's not happening until about the Wednesday before your child's scheduled to arrive. But know that if you put down a cabin mate request and that other person put down your camper as a cabin mate request, it will most likely be honored. And we honor up to about 2 or 3 cabin mate requests each week. So if you haven't done that, you can still do that by going to complete your parent forms in your portal. There's a cabin mate request form there. And then if you want to be sure that it's been honored, you can send us an email or place a call to us, usually after Wednesday, the week before your child's scheduled to arrive, and we can confirm at that time if your child is in the same cabin as who they requested. Generally after that, switches are really hard to make. So if you know that maybe you requested somebody and you don't want that person in your cabin anymore, update your form or call us so we can update you for your form for you.
All right, so I'm going to allow folks to unmute. So if there's any other questions that have come up, you can
If you hit your
unmute and
raise the
ask.
hand button, that's helpful.
Raise the hand. Still use chat if you'd like. But you should, if I click the button correctly, should have the ability to unmute now. Otherwise, we will be sharing this video tomorrow for anyone that maybe had to leave early or friends you want to share it with, or if you want to rewatch it, you can. And again, contact us with any other questions you do have. I appreciate you spending your last hour with us tonight. And we can't wait to see your campers in potentially as soon as like 23, 24 days.
And
We
yes,
just got a
cabin
question in the chat
assignments.
about, we just got a question in the chat about how cabins are organized.
Go ahead, Margaret.
So they're organized by gender, program, and age. So if you are coming to camp and your camper is requesting to be in a cabin with their cousin that is 15 and they're 8, we probably won't put them in the same cabin. If we cannot honor that friend request that we see written in your application, we will call you and say, hey, just so you know, this cabin request is just totally not going to work. Really sorry. And then we also cabinize it by age. So like if 2 friends are coming to camp and they want to be in the same cabin, but one is in the riding program and one is in just normal discovery, most likely they won't be in the same cabin. We try our best to make funny situations work and work with you, but sometimes it just like doesn't work. There's only so much room in those cabins.
And generally, if a camper is 12 or 10 and they requested to be with a cousin that's 12 or 13, if we can honor it, generally the older sibling is going to be dropped down to the younger cabin group. So know that as well. We're not going to put a 10-year-old with a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds, but we would put a 12-year-old. If that cabin request was die hard, that will generally mean you're lowering down to that age of the majority of the youngest age group.
Counselors do sleep in the cabin with campers. So generally it is 2 to 3 counselors in a cabin with campers. So lots of supervision all the time. And we also have like cabin covered. So we do give our staff 1 night off a week and they take turns. So when someone is off, usually there's support helping with transitions and bedtime and all that kind of stuff. So in that cabin, they're usually a pretty tight-knit group that spends most of their time together as a cabin with their counselors. So. Well, if you guys have any other questions, you can stay on, put it in the chat. Otherwise, absolutely reach out to us.
Before you leave, thumbs up, just the button, or did you find this helpful? Is this worth for us to do every year?
That's awesome. Camper nod, so that's a good sign.
Great. Mom's good too. Dad's good. Excellent. Well,
that
great.
Original Zoom email. Again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns or things that you think we should know about your camper, you can even just like reply to that email. So yeah, we're here to help and chat through anything. There is no silly questions and no silly comments. We'd rather you guys over communicate than not. So
Thank you for your time. We will see you this summer.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.